So in terms of I guess the involvement of fear in your motivation to join in the first place, because it sounds like your sister was bringing to you, kind of this daunting, threatening message of, if you don't join this group, basically, things are not going to be good for you. And I'm worried for you. And so I think fear, it sounds like, was a big part of what was being told to you in the initial stages. It sounds like. So what, from your perspective, what part did the fear play in you joining, or what was your experience with that in the beginning?
So I think for us, like, the love bombing got us in, but the fear kept us in. So, like, even the way I was baptized, so I kept on dragging my baptism for a very long time, like because I just felt like I was not ready. But yeah, like, my sister was in my ear of, like, the end is coming, and, like, she was talking about all the disasters and all the things, and I was thinking, like, why am I not seeing these disasters on TV? Like, you seem to collect all the disasters and that I'm not hearing about. And the Passover sounded like quite attractive at that stage, because in my case, I had a fear of death, like, for all my life, pretty much, because we grew up in a war-torn country, and, like, the healthcare was not really good. So we saw people dying left and right. And, like, for me, it always felt like my family member could be, like, next. So we lost an older sister, and then, like, my dad died when we were young. So I was always afraid that, like, one of my family member could be the next to die. So, like, I was really, really afraid of death. So and even in Australia, actually, like, it was much safer than, like, back home. But I still had this fear of death, like, over me, like, at all times. So when they said that the Passover not only gives us eternal life, but it also protects us on this earth, like, I was definitely sold. And that day when they made that clear, I said to them, yeah, like, please baptize me. And the overseer was the one studying with me at that stage. So, like, he just baptized me on spot, basically. And like, all these years, even though, like, I had actually attempted to leave 3 times before, like, the last time that I left, the only thing that kept on bringing me back was really the fear of death, basically, because then my family would, like, even though I've left the church, but because my family was still there, they would still relate to me that really the end is coming, and, like, this happened and that happened. And, like, if the end comes while you're out, like, you cannot come to heaven with us, basically. And, like, what would be of you, and things. So, like, I was really, really afraid. So even when I would leave, and, like, by this point, actually, 2 of the times I left, we were already married by that point, right? So I would leave, but I would refuse to leave the house on Saturdays, because I'm like, now that I'm not keeping Sabbath, I can't be roaming out, like, doing my own thing. Like, definitely God will strike me down. Not only me, I would actually try to convince Pascal not to leave the house either.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Wow,
So yeah.
And that's
fear
something
really took control of you guys.
Yeah. I mean, that's something it's great to be able to laugh at it now, looking back at it. But when you step back a little bit and think about that, I mean, how traumatizing those ideas are, that it's causing people to live that way, where they don't even have the freedom to feel like they can go outside of their house on Saturday and go about doing things that they want to do, because they're afraid that, some terrible thing is going to happen to them. And I think the way you said that just a few minutes ago, that it was the love bombing that got you in, and it was the fear that kept you in, which is, what we talk about all the time on here. That's exactly how it works. Is they'll give this appearance up front, and they'll make you feel good. They'll get you inside the door, but then it's all these fears and phobias that become really become your own self-induced prison. Like they make you be your own prison guard because you accept and embrace these ideas, and then you're the one that's kind of, you're continuing to tell yourself this story of this is what reality is, and this is what's going to happen if I don't stay in line. And so you kind of, you lock that door yourself in a sense. And so, yeah, I think it's just it's just so unfortunate that they are traumatizing so many people just with these fear-based teachings.
Mm-hmm. It's really ridiculous. And since I got out, actually, few months after, we saw like an ex-member that at some stage she was in my group and she had left. And maybe at some stage she will share her story, so I won't share too much. But Pascal and I were looking for a new home, and we were actually going to inspect a house next to her house. So I thought I would just message her and see if she was in the area. And like at this stage, actually, it was on a Saturday. So I messaged her and I said, "Oh, like we're inspecting a house next to your home. Do you mind if we drop in?" And she said, "Oh, yeah, of course." So because she didn't know actually at this stage that I had left. So when we got there, she probably thought, like she's coming to remind me of the Passover and and all the things. So we got there, because she got married as well by this stage. So we got to meet her husband, and we were just like chatting away. And I said to her, "Oh, by the way, I left church." And she was like really surprised. She said, "Oh, wow, I didn't know that you had left. Actually, when you messaged me before, I thought you were coming in regards to this." And I said, "Oh, I thought you would have thought that. That's why I wanted to bring it up." And then we had the conversation, and then I basically explained to her why I left. And I told her that like the video that really convinced me was Michelle's video. But then after that, I fell into the rabbit hole and I watched almost every interview. Then I went to Playing in Traffic and I binge listened to everything. In her case, so she left about maybe 6 years ago, but she never looked into anything. She was still afraid of looking into the internet. So all these 6 years, she actually lived in guilt and fear.
Wow.
And when I sent her that video, she also ended up binge watching and listening to everything. And then she said,
Wow.
The very next Saturday, she said to me, "This is the first Saturday." Sorry. She said, "This is the first Saturday since I left that I was able to like have a peaceful sleep this morning without guilt." And I felt really bad that like for 6 years she went through what I went through in the 2 months, and I almost lost my mind. Like I'm telling my husband, "You can't drive today. Like don't even take the kids." And like I'm pleading with him, like, "Please don't go, because like now I left, God is going to punish me. And to punish me, he will harm you or the kids to punish me." And Pascal was like, "We are not bad people. Why would God want to do that to us?" And I'm like, "Yeah, because like I'm no longer now keeping God's feast. And like this would be to teach me a lesson, would be to harm you or the kids." So yeah, like it's really sad actually when especially like that fear linger. Like even if you fight the urge of like I know the treatment is bad enough that I'm not gonna go back. I rather deal with this guilt and fear than to go back to that behavior. And then like you still live in so much fear and guilt anyway, like even long after. And then because of the situation with her, I ended up reaching out to another sister that had left even longer before that. And it was the same situation. Like she's been out now. I think she was out even before I met you. So almost like now 8 years. And she had the same thing. She said to me, like every time a church conversation come up, like I feel a knot in my stomach because of like how fearful I am. And like, I know that like when my days end on this earth, that like I was going to face the hellfire pretty much like at the end. And yeah, like it's really, really sad.
You know, it just shows how different their God is than the God of the Bible, because you think about like the parable of like the prodigal son. When that son like left the father, it was all he did is want his son to come back, and he kept love for his child who separated. Here, it's like as if like the prodigal son left, and then the father sent forces to go murder his son for leaving him. It's very different God. So, and that fear of when you leave, you're going to receive punishment. You're gonna be, and we all get into this idea about the car accident or cancer or all these different things come to mind. And like even when they teach be baptized immediately, that's what gets you into the church officially. And they say you could walk out of here right now after this study and get hit by a bus. That example is used all the time. So you feel like if I'm not here, I'm going to go outside and get hit by a bus because I don't have this protection. And, you know, so it's something that's very, very common. Everybody who leaves has this mindset, and it's awful to have. And there are some people who leave and know that it's a lie, and other people who leave and still believe it. And that latter is so miserable to have that.
It's the worst case scenario, actually. It's really
what you did helping those people is amazing because you were able to give them some relief from that.
Mm-hmm. And I think, I'm imagining 6, 8 years, however long both of those individuals lived in that. I can't imagine that. It's heartbreaking, but I think, you know, I would just say for the former members who have come out and who have realized reality, have realized what the church actually is, hopefully let that be a reminder to you to maybe reach out to some of those people that maybe you know who have in the past left that maybe you haven't thought about for a while. And because maybe there's some people out there that you know that you could just, I don't know what that might look like, but maybe you could send them a video or an interview or the Playing in Traffic podcast, or just reach out and ask them how they're doing, because you know, how many other stories are there out there like that with people who have been out for who knows how many years, but they're still completely living in that, you know, as slaves basically still to this group that they've left and they haven't even been a part of 40 years. But that's just how deeply ingrained the indoctrination can be. And so that's why I think people like you both and Anthony coming out and sharing is obviously so important and so valuable. Thank you for watching that video. Everything I do on this channel and all the videos and interviews are only made possible because of financial supporters. And so if you have any interest in supporting Great Light Studios, you can find links in the description below this video where you can find different ways that you can help me continue to make content like this.